Coming up in the next hour, police introduce stringent measures ahead of Easter festivities tomorrow. Ghana's annual crude oil production drops by 17.7%. Odrianuma Paragliding Festival at Thurs returns after 2 years break. And U.S. refined Islamic State Beatles jihadists guilty of conspiring to murder hostages in Syria. Good evening, it's News Live on GBC News and on GTV. You also stream me live on Facebook and on YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Samuela Kwote, and Robert from Pomans will translate the news into sign language. Now let's settle for the details. The Supreme Court says its restraint of James Kwesen as Asin North MP was to protect the Constitution and the sovereign will of Ghanaians without subverting it. The court maintains that it would be failing in its duty to Ghanaians if it did not grant the injunction against the Asin North MP.
5-2 majority decision on Wednesday restrained James Kwesen from carrying himself out as the Member of Parliament while directing the parties to file their memorandum of issues by April 25. The majority decision held by Justices Jones Doche, Mariama Osu, Gertrude Tokono, Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu and Emmanuel Yoni Kulendi reasoned that the people of Asin North and Ghanaians as a whole would suffer greater hardship and irreparable damage and inconvenience if Mr. Kwesen had not been restrained. Dissenting from the majority decision, however, Justice Agnes Doji and Nene Amagache reasoned that Michael Ankomanifa should have sought an enforcement of the High Court judgment against James Kwesen and instituted contempt proceedings against him in the High Court rather than appearing before the Supreme Court.
At the first meeting of the GBC board, the Minister for Information, Mr. Kujopon Nkrumah, tabled a number of issues requiring urgent attention. Of priority include issues of long service awards, long legal representation, and sporting rights and funding. The minister mentioned that government will assist the state broadcaster to restate its identity through restructuring.
In the first meeting of the 10-member board, the Minister for Information, Mr. Kujopon Nkrumah, encouraged members to be up to the task of finding lasting solutions to GBC's many difficulties.
There is the regular challenge of funding sporting rights, and often what we do is that we send a bill to government to pay, and there are these arrangements where sometimes you find the private sector taking the signal from GBC, sometimes not in half, and all of that. We need to have an institutional solution to the question of sporting rights. What is the role of GBC in the digital migration policy? How do we circle around that conversation and ensure that there's best value for the state and GBC competencies are also brought to bear on it? Accommodation is a problem for a lot of staff, and it is a good time for that kind of conversation to go on so that GBC's interests in this accommodation resolution program can be catered for.
He also said GBC needs a robust legal representation to avoid judgment debts. GBC owes about 40 million cedis in long service awards. He called for a middle ground solution, especially when GBC's internally generated fund cannot be used to pay. The chairman of the National Media Commission, Mr. Yalbuedu Ayebuafo, called for reforms in employee management with emphasis on professionalism.
The moment that they hear reform, they only understand it one way: redeployment. You know, the last time we explained to the staff that it does not mean redeployment, because there are some organizations that have reformed and they have recruited many more people than they originally had. Where people allow themselves to be trained, they can be deployed in other areas. And the the horizon is bigger than they can ever imagine.
While commending the strategic changes in GBC in the past 2 years, the board chairman, Professor Samuel Debra, said his team will do its utmost within its allocated period to address concerns raised.
I intend, for example, to introduce as a standing item on the agenda maybe every 2 months. We can talk about the legal issues, and if need be, they can constitute committees to go into those issues. In terms of the LSC, that is one of our main albatross to the board. Again, we intend to bring forth some solution that we think along the lines that you've already intimated.
The board says much will be done on the position of public service broadcasting, bearing in mind the shift in the media landscape as it supports GBC's role in nation building, education, and engendering national development. For GBC News, Shirley Annan reports.
Roads Minister Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata has pleaded with contractors on the Accra-Tema Beach Road to take swift action to ease the traffic congestion at the Nungua barrier to make that stretch more convenient for road users. The minister was on an inspection of progress of the project, including others, on Wednesday.
The interchange at the Nungua barrier is one of the projects under construction along the Accra-Tema Beach Road, which started in 2021. The Member of Parliament for Tema West, Mr. Carlos Ahenkwa, was happy his constituency has benefited from quite a number of road projects. He was, however, not happy that contractors had abandoned a 10-kilometer road project at Ajay Kojo.
Right now, as we speak, my major worry or my major concern is Ajay Kojo. Ajay Kojo happens to be in my constituency. Fortunately for me, again, the Ministry of Roads has awarded about 10 or 11 kilometers in that area. We are not seeing too much action from the contractor. And as we speak, this contract was, I think, signed somewhere in 2018. But till date, not a single grain of tar has actually fallen on the roads.
The roads minister, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, asked the contractor to help minimize the traffic situation at the barrier.
Where necessary, you have to create, alternative and then detours and, for people. I know it's within your professional capability. You know what I'm talking about. You are professionals. You know better. I'm only trying to remind you of these responsibilities. Okay, but generally, from what I hear and the reports I get from the engineers from my ministry working with you, government is happy about what is going on here.
Private buildings, fuel stations and others have halted the project, which was expected to be completed by November this year. Some 10 kilometers of roads from the Nungua barrier towards the are yet to be completed. He gave those in charge of maintenance at the urban roads to maintain the Abattoir Bridge at Community 18 in a month. He also inspected some inner roads at Community 19, 20, Sakumono and Collins Dauda Road, Lincoln Bachuna. These projects have minor challenges such as drain issues, potholes which stall movement, among others. He asked the engineers to fix them all.
We now go to the Upper East region, where the National Pensions Regulatory Authority has organized an outreach at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region to sensitize workers in both the formal and informal sectors on the three-tier pension scheme. It formed part of the NPRA's effort to give employers, employees, self-employed and the general public deeper understanding of the new pension scheme.
At separate centers in Navrongo and Bolgatanga, traders, mostly women, Hairdressers, dressmakers and food vendors and workers in the informal sector were educated on the importance of a retirement plan and the benefits of becoming members of pension schemes. The zonal head of NPRA, Al-Hassan Husseini Yakubu, said workers in the informal sector, especially women, have shown the least interest in the three-tier pension scheme and encouraged them to sign on to other schemes regulated by the authority.
If you look at the population statistically, especially in the Petit region, mostly about 90% of them are women, and they don't contribute to any form of pension scheme. So we're looking at them as our target.
A pensions advisor, Madam Evangela Baisi, assured beneficiaries of the safety of their monies and encouraged the gathering to sign on to any schemes.
You hear people having a lot of reservations when it comes to contributing to pensions because of the fear from maybe experiences from other financial institutions running away with their money. But we are here to ensure them that when it comes to pensions, your monies are safe, your monies are secured. So where formal sector workers' funds are going, informal sector workers, whatever you contribute is going there.
A contributor and president of the Bolgatanga Bead Makers Association, Madam Esla Akurugo, said the Tier 3 pension scheme is a good fallback on to live a decent life in their old age. She said she voluntarily enrolled in the scheme, which has supported her business.
First, we don't know that it's good that you have to be putting money aside. The one that I was putting it aside in case I need money to do something, I was able to use that money to send my beads material from Accra.
There were about 320 participants, including mechanics, drivers, licensed chemical sellers at the fora.
The government says every BEC candidate will be enrolled under the free SHS policy while it phases out the double-track system. The Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Ntimfodwo, announced this on an unannounced visit to St. John Grammar Senior High School at Amasaman on Tuesday to observe the admission process.
At about 1 p.m., the Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Ntimfodwo, and his team were conducted round by the headmaster of the school, Dr. Edmond Fiano, while the Form 1 students were being assisted to enroll by the school's management. The Deputy Minister said government will provide a conducive environment for students.
We thank the head of school, Dr. Edmond Fiano, and the assistant heads for the work they are doing, the dedication, the alacrity with which they receive new students, help them through the enrollment, and even for those who have challenges with their placement, they receive them. That is exactly the picture that is happening in all our SHS and TVET institutions across the country. The investment into infrastructure has made it possible for double entry to be done away with. So in this particular academic year, you are not going to find Form 1s having double intake in a particular school. They are all going to come the same period. They are all going to vacate the same period.
Reverend Ntimfodwo toured the school's infrastructure, including the newly built girls' dormitory block. The team was also at the dining hall and the stores. At the time, 150 students had gone through the enrollment process at the school. Reverend Ntimfodwo said every child will have a comfortable sleeping place for effective learning. Government has since 2017 initiated 1,132 education-related projects for second cycle institutions across the country and has completed 734, with some nearing completion.
Now, in our Chopology series today, we look at how ademe is prepared. It is undoubtedly one of the favorite soups of the people of the Volta region, ademe soup. Ademe, as it's popularly known in some parts of Ghana, is actually called jute malo. Jute leaves are very popular not only in West Africa, but throughout Africa, in the Middle East and Asia. These edible leaves are eaten boiled, stir-fried or added to soup or stews as part of our chopology series with teas and serve you with a visual taste of adame soup.
The ingredients needed for adame soup are a handful of adame leaves, palm oil, which is optional, garlic, ginger, celery seed, or what is popularly known as inkiti, onions and tomatoes. Other ingredients are smoked fish, crabs, fresh scallops or adode, steamed meat, wele, bakposhito, and salt to taste. To prepare adame soup, the leaves are removed from the stalk and only the green ones must be selected. Wash the adame leaves in brine solution, then add the leaves to boiling water and stir for 2 minutes to maintain green color. Beat the adame leaves a little to give the slimy texture and the desired consistency.
You see, you beat it to your satisfaction, the texture that you want. But for me, this texture is okay for me.
Next, prepare the adame sauce by blending the bakposhito, onion, tomatoes, celery seed and ginger. Heat the palm oil and pour the ground ingredients into the oil. Leave to cook for about 10 minutes, then add steamed meat, crabs, smoked fish and fresh scallops. At this point, add the already cooked adame leaves to the stew.
Because the stew is ready and the adame leaves too is ready. So when you pour the adame in the stew, you need not to waste time on the fire. If not, the you just get off.
The adame soup is ready. The soup is best eaten with hot akpene, banku or kokonte. You may want to try the adame soup because of the numerous health benefits of the adame leaves. The adame leaves are said to be loaded with vitamins, minerals, and several phenolic compounds including vitamin, folic acid, ascorbic acid, riboflavin, and beta-carotene.
This year's Kwewu Easter Paragliding Festival has been launched at the Odrianoma Paragliding Field with 12 paragliding pilots. One of them is a Ghanaian by the name Jonathan Kwei. The other 11 are from the USA, Germany, Peru, and Switzerland. Paragliding is an aviation sport enjoyed by many people around the world. It is most popular in Europe, where there are an estimated 400,000 pilots. A paragliding flight may be performed by a single pilot or an experienced pilot together with a passenger with no flying experience attached to the same canopy. A paraglider flight can last a few minutes or hours depending on weather condition and the skill of the pilot. Launching the festival, the Deputy Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Mr. Mark Okrekumante, called for a public-private partnership to help develop the tourism sector. He said the ministry is working hard to develop all tourist sites in the country.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has a target of 2.3 billion USD for 2022. Activities like this will play a major role in achieving this target. Every Ghanaian today, I will urge you to support tourism because tourism is only a marketing product, but the beneficiaries are all of us.
The Kwewu South Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Emmanuel Atasinia, underscored the importance of tourism in nation building.
The region abounds with many tourist attractions such as the Boti waterfalls, Bunzu Eco Park, etc. We are ever ready to also partner any private investor who would like to develop those tourist sites.
One of the pilots, Mr. Chuck Smith from the USA, spoke to GBC News.
I want to thank you for the nice opening ceremonies with all the board members, GTA, the chiefs. I'm not into the system how you make it, but it was a lot of impression for us.
Other activities lined up for the celebration include marathon and his ninth at Kwewu Jaso. Now, the police service says it has introduced stringent measures to provide adequate security to Ghanaians ahead of the 2022 Easter celebrations. In a statement issued by its Director General of Public Affairs, DCOP Kwesi Fori said the MTTD and the Intelligence Directorate are working to ensure that all persons who travel for the celebrations do so in safety. The police will also ensure that all events organized in various parts of the country are secured and incident-free. The statement said additional security arrangements have been made for the annual Kwewu Easter celebrations. Meanwhile, for the entire safety of the populace, the Ghana National Fire Service has also launched an initiative dubbed Operation Prevent Fires, Save Lives and Property to better protect the public during the period. The campaign also seeks to prevent fire outbreaks and to bring the numbers recorded in the country to the barest minimum before, during and after the Easter season. 73-year-old Elizabeth Ayoko, aka Ayoko Atinkrine, is reported missing. According to her son, Ni Ajay Sadat, his mother, Madam Elizabeth Ayoko, left home a few days ago and has not returned. Anyone with information about Elizabeth Ayoko should contact Ni Ajay Sadat of house number 5712 at Teshi Akotobu area on 0256 249995. The numbers again 0256 249995, or report to the nearest police station. You're watching News Alive on GBC News and on GTV. Also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We'll be back shortly. Please don't go away. You're welcome back. Now let's do business. Business brought to you by Quick Credit and MTN. Now, for the first time since 2011, the annual budget funding amount has gone into paying a judgment debt of over 12 million Ghana cedis. This amount covers roads, rail and other infrastructure priority areas during the period under review. This came up as one of the findings in the 2021 annual report on management and use of petroleum revenues launched in Accra.
In compliance with provisions of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, the committee prepares statutory semi-annual and annual reports to keep Ghanaians and interested stakeholders regularly informed about the management and utilization of the country's petroleum revenue. Since it was established in 2011, the committee has published 21 reports, of which 10 are semi-annual and 11 annual reports. From this report, total oil production from 2010 to 2021 is over 508 million barrels. Out of this number in 2021, total production for all three oil fields is over 55 million barrels, with Jubilee recording over 27 million, representing 50%. Sankofa Ginyame over 15 million, also 28%. 10 over 11 million, representing 22%. Total revenue accrued from 2011 to 2021 is $7.36 billion. Annual crude oil production declined by 17.7% from over 66 million in 2020 to over 55 million barrels despite the rebound of activities. Total petroleum revenues increased by 17.5% from over $666 million in 2020 to over $783 million in 2021 due to higher crude oil prices. Surface rentals arrears increased by 22.22% from over 2,110,212 in 2020 to 2,579,170 cedis in 2021. The report states that in 2021, GNPC could not realize its from loans and guarantees amounting to $126 million. This is out of an accumulated total of $318 million owed the corporation by government and its agencies since 2011. The head of Payroll Processing Directorate, Controller and Accountant General's Department, Mrs. Angela Piazza, urged PIAC to keep the relevance of its existence by being innovative. The chairman of PIAC, Professor Kwame Adom-Frimpong, said the 2021 annual report is an improvement on the previous years.
2021, the impact of COVID is a little, so we're expecting that it will go up. Unfortunately, the volume went down, but in spite of that, the revenue also went up in view of the increase in the crude oil price.
PIAC recommends that the Ministry of Finance must work with relevant institutions to develop appropriate guidelines for the purpose.
Sharply higher prices for staples and supply shortages are increasing pressure on households worldwide and pushing millions more into poverty. The threat is highest for the poorest countries with a large share of consumption from food imports, but vulnerability is increasing rapidly in middle-income countries, which host the majority of the world's poor. World Bank estimates warn that for each 1 percentage point increase in food prices, 10 million people are thrown into extreme poverty worldwide.
According to a joint statement by the IMF, World Bank, World Trade Organization and the World Food Programme, the rise in food prices is exacerbated by a dramatic increase in the cost of natural gas, a key ingredient of nitrogenous fertilizer. Surging fertilizer prices along with significant cuts in global supplies have important implications for food production in most countries, including most producers and exporters who rely heavily on fertilizer imports. The increase in food prices and supply shocks can fuel social tensions in many of the affected countries, especially those that are already fragile or affected by conflict. The IMF, World Bank and the World Food Programme are calling on the international community to urgently support vulnerable countries through coordinated actions ranging from provision of emergency food supplies, financial support, increased agricultural production, and open trade.
We now take the Interbank and Commodity Board for today. You're still watching News Live on GBC News and on GTV. We'll be back shortly. Please stay.
Good evening, you're live on News Hour with Mabel Anna. I'm here with the energy news. The pipeline extension project from Takoradi to Tema, referred to as the Takoradi-Tema Interconnection Project (TTIPP), has enhanced natural gas delivery capacity for the West African gas pipeline company WAPCO from 140 million capacity cubic feet to 235 million cubic feet a day. As the company celebrates 10 years of commercial operations in Ghana, Managing Director of WAPCO, Mr. Gregory Gemani, said partnering with stakeholders in the gas sector contributed to the successes chalked up.
And gas pipeline company WAPCO was developed to support accelerated economic growth of the West African region. It currently provides vital infrastructure linking 4 cities, Lomé in Togo, Cotonou, Benin, and Tema and Takoradi in Ghana. The company supplies natural gas for power generation to complement other energy generation sources. With a decade of commercial operations and a strong start in 2021, the managing director of WACO, Mr. Gregory Germani, said the company is in a better position to deliver natural gas to customers in the next decade.
With tremendous support from the government of Ghana through your ministry, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, the Ghana National Gas Company, and with technical support from ENI Ghana, an extension of the WAGP was completed as part of the larger Takoradi to Tema Interconnect Project, TTIP. The TTIP involved an expansion of our delivery capacity from 100 million cubic feet a day to 235 million cubic feet a day at our facility here at Tema.
Deputy Minister for Energy, Dr. Amin Adam, pledged the ministry's commitment to continue partnering countries in the sub-region to further consolidate WAPCO's success story as a module for international integration.
We wish that WAPCO would leverage the experiences gained to further collaborate with other partners in the sector to make Ghana a hub for reliable, efficient, and cleaner generation of power, not only for the development of Ghana, but for the entire region of West Africa.
The 10-year celebration was climaxed with the unveiling of a West African map statue, signifying a successful regional integration of its operations.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, says it has not approved any change in utility tariffs, though it is engaging stakeholders on a possible adjustment. At the launch of the Commission's Media Fellowship in Accra, the PURC Board Chairman, Mr. Ebokwe said the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has not increased its charges. He asked power consumers to contact ECG if they have been overbilled.
There's a lot of rumor going around that already the ECG, especially, tariffs have gone up. It's not true. If there's something wrong with your meter, please go and get it checked out. The only organization in this country that can authorize the increase of tariffs is PURC. And as I sit in this chair now, I am not aware of any legislation or anything that has gone up to say that ECG, Ghana, or for that matter, Ghana Gas, should increase their rates or their tariffs. That has never happened. So I want to state this categorical, that no tariffs have gone up. None.
This is how we wrap up on the energy segment with Mabel Anang. Health news is up next.
Time now for health, brought to you by Lufat, Tobingo's premium gift to Africa. The Minister for Health, Mr. Kwekwajuman Menu, has cautioned that the country risks losing the gains made in the fight against COVID-19. He notes with grave concern the wanton disregard for the COVID-19 protocols, especially the wearing of nose masks, since the president's announcement that no longer mandatory. Mr. Juman Menu expressed his concerns during the presentation of COVID-19 logistics and commodities from the Korea International Cooperation Agency.
Have stopped wearing the masks.
And when I was speaking during this ceremony, I said that the two countries that got it right across the globe during the COVID pandemic battle, these two countries were Ghana and Korea. And so the demonstration of what we are doing here emphasizes that. The whole world is still watching us. We have managed to bring down the disease to the barest minimum because of protocols we introduced and a lot of things that we did, right, including the vaccines. Vaccination is about the sure best to bring down the disease infections. Now we've managed to get ours down. And people are removing their masks because the NADO has said it's no more mandatory. Indoors, you have to wear the masks. If you don't have any option than to wear the mask. Some of us are still not vaccinated. You don't have any privilege to remove your masks, especially indoors. So I'll plead that the monies you spend, the efforts you put in, we don't want it to be wasted. So let us continue to wear the masks until the whole world declares that COVID is no more.
Most important thing, the increased vaccination rate. But personally, I think the vaccination rate is still somewhat low.
And the Opokuwari Senior High School in Kumasi now has a fully fitted expanded sick bay to provide basic health care to more of the students and the teaching staff. The project was financed by the 1978-year group at the cost of 225,000 Ghana cedis.
Prior to the handing over of the expanded sick bay to the school authorities, the school sick bay used to be a 2-ward facility. One of the wards was later handed over to the National Ambulance Service to serve the Nshiaiso constituency under the government's One Constituency, One Ambulance initiative. The situation compelled the 1978-year group to finance the expansion of the sick bay into a 3-ward facility. It is fitted with beds, drip stands and washrooms. The head of the 3-member nursing team manning the sick bay, Mr. Michael Kofiowusu, said they are compelled to send some of the sick students to health facilities outside the campus because of inadequate space.
As I speak, we still have logistical challenges. And because it is originally a school clinic, we don't have every logistic that we need to treat the students. So we have to refer some of the cases to bigger facilities. And with this extension, it will help us a great deal. Sometimes you can have food an outbreak that requires that many of the students will be trooping in here, and the extended ward will definitely be of good benefit to us.
A representative of the 1978-year group, Mr. Daniel Nanapoku, said the gesture is the group's contribution to its alma mater. The headmaster of the Opokuwari School, Reverend Stephen Owusu Sechere, said the expanded sick bay is a big relief to the school's growing student population. He appealed to the other year groups to help the school complete some stalled projects.
That was the health segment brought to you by Lufat, Tobingo's premium gift to Africa. International News up next.